Welcome to my drawing and narration video. It's about time I did a creepypasta video. So far, both drawing videos have centered on a cryptid and a character who resembles cryptid-like characteristics. I've decided to continue with the formula as we transition into creepypasta. You can find the full article in the link below. Remember, the video you are about to see is filled with occurrences one might find dreadful and unsettling. So while you're watching, ask yourself, what would I do if I was in this situation? When you're done, write it down in the comments section. Since it's the Halloween season, I thought I'd share a small legend that occasionally makes its way around town where I live. There's a lot of dense forests here in the Seattle area, and people like to tell stories about a tall, hairy creature that walks between the trees at night. There's lots of Bigfoot rumors around here, but they say it's definitely something else. More like the Michigan Dogman, or some kind of werewolf. The big difference is that it has an animal skull for a face, with sharp rows of teeth and large, empty eye sockets. Or at least, that's what people say. See, the thing is that the legend says it doesn't like to be watched, and it recognizes and avoids all kinds of cameras. This, combined with other details that I'll mention later, leads me to believe that this cryptid could have been a regular person at some point. Anyways, the story goes that it lives deep in the forests near Seattle and Bellevue, watching hikers from a distance and feeding off deer and wild berries. These food sources can be inconsistent though, which leads to the main risk that I'll get into after the instructions. Most reported sightings are around Coal Creek, so that's probably where you'd want to go if you're looking for it. That's also where it gets its most common name, the Coal Creek Demon. Some people say it's a vengeful spirit from the long-lost mining settlement that used to be there. But that sounds a bit too melodramatic to me. I'd say it's probably the result of some freak accident. But I'm not a scientist or anything, so who knows? There's no real reward for encountering this so-called demon that I've heard of. But if you want to seek it out anyways, here's what you need to do. Results are far from guaranteed. It can only be in one place at once, and it doesn't live to serve your interests. If nothing else, it's a fun excuse to go camping with some friends. To conduct this ritual, you'll need a gift, camping equipment, flashlights, blindfolds, a remote-activated light source. Some of these items are only necessary for certain approaches, so you can read ahead and decide what exactly you need to bring. Step 1. Prepare a gift. This could be a metal token or some kind of trinket, but it's usually recommended to bring a nice meal consisting of red meat and berries. This is a very important step, because without a gift, it most likely won't show up, and if it does show up, you need to leave immediately. Step 2. Set up camp deep in the woods. If you can still see lights from other structures, you aren't far enough. You'll want to go in the late evening so that you can set everything up just before sunset. Step 3. Put away all recording devices and limit your light sources to your flashlights. You can also start a fire as long as it doesn't burn too bright. The idea here is to create a welcoming environment, while also maintaining a protected area. Step 4. Set up your remote activated light source a few feet away from the edge of your camp, and place your gift next to it. Keep the light switched on for now. Step 5. Sit back and relax. Once the sky is pitch black, you'll just need to wait for a sign. Feel free to chat and play games with anyone you brought along with you, just as long as you all have a clear view of the tree line. Step 6. Eventually, you might realize that something is observing you from a distance. It could be a tall shadow in the distance, the snapping of foliage, a sudden, unnatural silence, or just the feeling of being watched, if you believe in that sort of thing. If you notice any of these signs, it could very well mean that you've made contact. You're now ready to move on to the next step. Step 7. Stop all conversation and reduce your noise as much as possible. Switch off the light next to your gift and make sure your flashlights are pointed away from it. This is also where you need to pay close attention to these instructions, as any mistake past this point will cause the demon to panic, which can have very dangerous consequences. Step 8. The demon should now approach your gift slowly. Stay calm and avoid any noises or sudden movements. Do not shine a light on it or take out any recording devices. If everything is done correctly, it will take the gift and briefly gaze at the people in your camp. However, if it ignores your gift and instead starts moving toward your camp, you need to get up and run to the nearest shelter you can find. Your lights will no longer matter, so just focus on moving as fast as possible. If you can't find anything nearby, try to hide in the surrounding foliage. According to all known recollections, it can run much faster than any human, so whatever you do, do it fast. This is the point at which most would be content to stop. So if you've had enough, just stay in place until it makes a small bowing motion with its head and walks back into the forest. If you're an idiot like my friend, you can continue through these next steps and potentially get a much closer encounter. I don't recommend it, in my opinion. You're just asking for trouble by now. Step 9. While this creature is near your camp, quickly eliminate all sources of light and put on your blindfolds. This is where it comes in handy to be using flashlights, since turning them off is much easier than dousing a fire. Step 10. The demon will now feel free to explore your camp and inspect you up close. You'll hear it rummaging through your supplies and pacing around you. You might even feel its breath on your face, but you need to remain calm and stay still, and whatever you do, do not remove your blindfold. This creature is known to be relatively passive towards humans if unprovoked, but if you happen to hear any sudden sounds of distress from your friends, immediately evacuate the area as described earlier. Step 11. Wait until it loses interest and walks away. Once you can no longer hear its footsteps, feel free to take off your blindfolds and turn your lights back on. You've now stood face to face with a cryptid and lived to tell the tale. So you've got some bragging rights with anyone who's willing to believe you. Like I said, there's no big reward, so it's mostly just about having the experience. Now let's talk about the risks here. As you have assumed by now, stories say that it has an occasional tendency to eat people. So there's that. However, based on my research, it seems to only do this when starved or provoked, so you don't have to worry, as long as you want to play it smart. If anything, you should feel bad for the hikers who randomly run into this thing with no preparation. I'd recommend going out during the summer or early fall, since that's when the blackberries are in season and the wildlife is most active. That's just my theory, but most of the darker stories I've heard take place during winter, so I'd say it holds some water. Now, like I said earlier, there is a chance they could startle the demon and cause it to panic. I believe this is usually caused by it suddenly being caught in clear view by a person. So that's why you don't want to shine a light on it or try to record it. If it panics, then it will either run off in a hurry or attack the person watching it. Mostly, depending on how far away it is. That's why it's a stupid idea to let it walk around your camp, because one mistake could be enough to put you on a missing persons poster.